Hello, wonderful people! Today we have narrative design analysis of Dispatch, and I'm really happy to be reviewing this game. I mean, it's super interesting, not just because it's kind of a rebirth of Telltale Games, because it's not, it's just, as they said themselves, some people from Telltale Games, but it doesn't feel like, they're trying to do something they've done before. They really outdid themselves by not doing anything radically new, but very consciously choosing where not to overreach and very strongly doing what I preach: core loop, core fantasy, theme, strong theme. Oh my god, such a great game. I would like to draw attention to the fact that they had strong set of restraints. That's like the strongest decision when it comes to design, both game design and narrative design. And it's beautiful how game design and narrative design come together in their product. Oh wow, I mean, on the surface it just looks like a cartoony workplace comedy, reskinned as superhero, and superheroes are popular, and this particular art style they chose and is super popular. It feels like you're watching, good old TV, and actually it's like very tightly scoped narrative game where story is not a layer above game. Story is the game, and moreover, story is a system. It's really amazing what they did there. My name is Ranko, and I've been in the game industry for more than 2 decades. I was game designer, producer, game director, and currently narrative designer, freelancer, and consultant. So today I want to discuss what makes Dispatch so effective and so compact and so amazing. Okay, first thing first, core fantasy. Always think about what's fun in your game. What is the source for fun? What kind of fantasy are you trying to sell to your audience, or provide for your audience? And even if it's not your game, even if you're working for a game, maybe you're a game designer, maybe you're a narrative designer, but all the problems stem from lack of clarity. What is the core fantasy that you need to defend? What is the core fantasy that you have to promise and deliver to your players? And I particularly like this game because you're not a hero. You're not saving city. You're managing people who maybe will save the city if you put them in the right place and at the right time. And before you ask, there were some games like that before. Putting a player in a role which is not protagonistic per se, but supportive, has been done before. This is the police kind of does it as well. Parallels come through management and through managing the safety of the city. But let's go back to Dispatch. Something that kind of strongly frames the whole experience, especially in narrative sense, is that failure is not a game over. It's simply mess, like political fallout or some kind of mess. And then success is not a glory. It's like less complaints, damage control and such. So drama is not about winning, slay the dragon, grab the loot, tell a story. Drama comes from, interactions between characters. And oh my god, I've been preaching this for so long, soap opera, guys, soap opera style interactions. They didn't go exactly to soap opera, but drama. Drama is the important keyword here. Drama comes from personalities and interactions, not from, dramatic explosions or action or whatever. And it's super choice they make to shift the spectacle kind of into the background and let the human friction, human interactions drive the story. Amazing. So let's talk about narrative and the kind of volume and content, in the sense that you do need to have some interesting choices in your game. Okay. And then Dispatch kind of looks like purely narrative, but in fact, resources that you manage and bring key decisions about are different, like social capital, narrative debt, reshuffling the options rather than closing, alleys of storytelling. So basically, what they did is that everything, gameplay and narrative are so connected that you're not managing some material outward resources as much as you're managing the flow of the story in a very nice way that feels organic and authentic and kind of not too abstract, but really like this game doesn't hide content from you. It doesn't shut the avenues of exploring the content. It will give you everything. So every time you go astray or fail, it kind of recontextualizes the content. It means that designers very well understand something that I've been talking about, and that's branching is expensive in terms of production, and recontextualization is not only desirable but also scalable. You can make an epic story that player can fully explore without them feeling like they're backtracking. You don't need 10 endings. You can go away with you can do away with 2, and you just need a system that keeps not rehashing but re-arguing, reinvigorating the content that players have missed or already done. So add to that characters, and we're talking about characters as systems. Chef's kiss. I mean, the heroes don't have the usual depth in the literary sense of the word in their characters. They are kind of like action vital volatile variables in this equation. They're mood driven modifiers to the story. They're kind of walking narrative constraints, so to speak. Each character feels designed not like a novel protagonist or antagonist, more like what happens if this type of personality meets time pressure, stress, authority. And it's super smart because it avoids the typical traps of writing great characters and then they're part of the game where player has to have wide player agency. And what do you do with this strong character? How do you flow the story around them, considering that the story is interactive and non-linear? So in this patch, characters will disappoint you, they'll be annoying, they'll be amateurs, not professionals, and they will sometimes even be right for wrong reasons, which is even more annoying. And then this whole messiness is so alive and vital and perfect example how less is more, and you don't always have to write this huge epic character and then what do you do with them, because player also wants this kind of position in the game. So next I'm gonna talk about very carefully picked tone, and it's not only set by narrative and game design, it's also set by art choices, and this is really great example how art, gameplay and narrative comes together. So let's talk about comedy. Comedy is not there to make you laugh. It's there to kind of cushion the blows and point out the contradictions. Comedy is like allowing you to experience very heavy, morally questionable decisions without, feeling like super preachy or super serious, or it can go all kind of ways without breaking immersion. And Taylor states feel recoverable, survivable, not shameful. It's not like, oh, you chose this and then 1,000 people dies and you're to blame. It's more like a very deliberately engineered tone. If it wasn't for a comedy, this patch would feel dry, feel preachy, even maybe cynical. Instead, the humor here is not a distance player from the theme. It's there to kind of, add more blood, more oil, like lubricant for the narrative system that's going on. So super amazing, super well picked tone. Comedy was a risky choice, but they pulled it off really nicely. And then when we talk about branching and avoiding this production costly branching thing, something that a lot of people commented on the Baldur's Gate 3 video is that they love the replayability. Players love replayability, but instead of engineering the game for replayability, this patch does very soft approach, not obsessive about replayability. I mean, this is not a game where you cannot see all the venues, and you missed if you didn't choose, a black or white. Replayability here is based on your choices as a player, like you trying out new perspective, or it's more relational, situational. Like you don't replay to unlock new content, or play with a meme character this time. It's like, what kind of choices I want to make this time, what kind of city, hero, superhero team management I want to be, and it's relatable, like super relatable, and that's very healthy replayability. It's not completionist, it's not like content grabbing, it's not even speedrunning. The replayability in this patch serves the theme. It's not about extending value. So let's talk about what this patch is not trying to do and why is it important. Oh my god, this is super important. So this patch is not trying to be a simulator, and that's very important. A lot of authors I see, they try to make a game and then try to simulate everything. It's a game, it's not simulator, unless you're building simulator, then it's fine, of course. But also, not every game needs to be a simulator. Even if you're like building a resource manager, a time manager, or manager of any kind, it doesn't have to do always with wood, gold, reputation, whatever. It brings us experience of a city instead of simulation of a city. It brings us this model of combat outcomes which are kind of granular. It offers like radical divergence in world states, and they would really destroy the focus if they tried to build a simulatory management game and then have these complex systems and then put story on top. It would also destroy players' agency in the story mode, in the story a bit, but also it would, I think, be a mess. It would simply collapse. I mean, if you're trying to design 5 systems at the same time, there's a good chance that you'll fuck up, 1 or 2, So this is a narrative game made by a team who understands the production reality and designed with it in mind, not against. It's really amazing how calculatedly ambitious it is. It's not like overstepping. It's not venturing the territories where the very core of the fantasy is being diluted. Wow! I mean, this patch is not a revolution because this kind of storytelling exists and it have existed. But it really is a big zeitgeist thing that in this day and age, narrative games don't need to be about massive branching. They don't need to be about seeping through systems of gameplay. Narrative games can be presenting story as a system. And of course, managing people, managing everyday life is so much more relatable and dramatic, can be, of course, than, saving the world, of which we are all a bit tired by now. But also, of course, comedy has always been juicy and important, but to remind us that comedy carries dramatic weight, and adds to your theme, really beautiful. But more than anything, this patch is not trying to be something else, and that's really like, they're not cloning anyone. They're not even trying to, repeat themselves. It's not Telltale 2.0, It's not what we've seen so far in their games. It's not even like Disco Elysium, chaser or killer or whatever. And we are so obsessed with this, like, leader and then chasing the leader. In games, the biggest predictor of your failure is someone else's success. The current state of market tells me that I'm a liar because, mobile games, like, everyone's cloning everyone and then everyone's raking in ungodly amounts of money, and it's fine. But in PC games, I'll kill myself if I see another, Metroidvania clone or Vampire Survivor clone or whatever. Don't clone, don't chase the leader. This patch is, of course, not an exotic, unique fruit that never existed before, but it is true to itself, and that's the beauty of it. It's as if they asked, what if the most interesting part of a superhero story is not, actual acts of flying and beating the villains, but like people who, are behind the screens, juggling spreadsheets and, like in every company, like everywhere we do, 90% of my work is writing documentation and 10% is being inventive. Such is corporate life, So yeah, I really respect what they did there. And of course, it didn't just, magically appear without their idea. It's obviously well designed. It obviously did their homework in sense not only of pre-production, but like They obviously learned from their own mistakes in the past. And if you would like to learn how to design your own authentic, narratively driven games, I've just launched like a crash course on creating a pitch for a game idea of such scope. We'll focus on pitching your idea clearly, thinking clearly about pillars of fantasy and core loops, explaining how narrative decisions translate to production language, and most importantly, how to concisely and clearly document these ideas so that others can benefit, so that you're not a lone gunman doing this, but like you're actually useful to the team. It's also good for your project if you're doing your own project, but it's also good for your future studio if you're planning to be a part of a project. It's a 2-week practical course. You're mentored directly by me, and of course the link is in the description, in the doobly-doo, as they say, and will be pinned in the comments. So see you there, and please, let's not make another dispatch game. Let's make something of our own. See you in the next one. Stay awesome and be kind to yourself and each other, of course.